Welcome to Supernatural Japan. I'm Kevin O'Shea, and tonight we're taking a walk through neon streets and moonlit shrines to talk about Halloween in Japan, what it looks like for adults and kids, and how the night blends cosplay with folklore, and why in recent years, some Tokyo neighborhoods have been putting the brakes on street celebrations. We'll also touch on the shadowy cast by the Itaewon crowd crush in Seoul, and what foreign travelers should expect if they plan to visit Japan during Halloween this year. We looked at how Halloween is celebrated in Japan in one of the earlier episodes of the podcast, episode 10, and now we're back for an updated episode. If you've only seen Halloween through an American or European lens, Japan's version can feel like a mashup of three things: a cosplay convention, a street party, and a pop culture photo shoot. In cities like Tokyo and Osaka, people of all ages put enormous energy into costumes. Everything from impeccably detailed anime characters to gory horror movie looks, to elaborate yokai and yurei, which are ghosts, costumes that riff on traditional Japanese spirits. Two things make Halloween here different. The cosplay culture is huge. People treat the night like a chance to perform and be photographed. Second, unlike many Western Halloweens that center on door-to-door trick-or-treating, much of Japan's action happens in public spaces, train stations, plazas, shopping malls, and shopping streets, and at organized nightlife and theme parks as well. For adults, Halloween has evolved into a night for costume bar crawls, club events, themed dinners, and large cosplay meetups. Some people treat it like a serious hobby. There's careful makeup, tailored outfits, props, and photographers who know the best backdrops. Nightclubs and bars, especially those that put on Halloween special event nights, charge cover, run contests, and create themed menus. Theme parks like Tokyo Disneyland and Universal Studios Japan host very big, ticketed seasonal events that attract families and adults alike. But there's also a rowdier element. In past years, especially in Shibuya, the area around the station and the most famous scramble crossing became a magnet for tens of thousands of costume people. That could mean a party atmosphere after dark, but also heavy drinking and crowds spilled onto the streets, litter everywhere, and occasional vandalism. And these problems are exactly why local officials began to step in. For families and kids, Halloween in Japan often looks pleasantly familiar. Shopping centers, community events, and theme park parades with candy giveaways, character meet and greets, and pumpkin decorations. International schools and foreign communities often run trick-or-treat events and family festivals. In many neighborhoods, parents prefer daytime or early evening events to big city street scenes, both for safety and for a friendlier, less chaotic vibe. Theme parks remain a big family draw. Now, during my years in Kobe, I would often rent a local community center in my neighborhood on Port Island in Kobe, Japan, and I would throw a Halloween party every October for my own kids, for their friends, for my coworkers, and their families as well. And it was always such a fantastic event. It was one of the highlights of the year for my wife and I. We put a lot of work into it, and we really loved bringing my Canadian Halloween culture to my own kids who grew up in Japan at the time, and all of their friends. Now, I would order American pumpkins at the time from a place called the Foreign Buyers Club on Roko Island. That doesn't exist anymore, but when that shut down, and that was for quite a long time, for many years, the only place where expats could buy foreign food products in Kobe, Japan. That was pre-Costco. Once Costco opened, we could buy American pumpkins there. Now, I would buy these pumpkins, we would have jack-o'-lantern carving, we would have trick-or-treating, and lots of games. and was always a super fun event, and it was a win-win for everyone. It was both my way to stay connected with my own culture as a Canadian, and it was a way for me to share my own culture with my own children who were growing up outside of Canada and their friends. Now let's take a look at Tokyo and the grown-up events there. Shibuya's Halloween grew from peaceful cosplay gatherings into massive ones, sometimes with very unruly crowds. After public intoxication, excessive trash, and incidents of harassment and property damage, the ward government began to actively discourage street celebrations, and they started putting enforcement in place. Alcohol bans in key zones during the days around Halloween, traffic restrictions, and a heavy police presence to control crowding and to keep people moving rather than stationary gatherings. Landmarks have also been temporarily fenced off in the busy years to prevent crowding around statues and plazas. So a lot of that, you'll hear about the Hachiko statue in Shibuya, how that gets fenced off. These measures reflect a desire to protect local residents, local businesses, and tourists from the risks of very dense, unmanaged crowds. Now, these measures are not necessarily permanent bans on costume culture. They're targeted actions to stop massive, unregulated street gatherings. Also, much of the live Halloween fun has shifted into ticketed, organized events at clubs, parks, and official parades that are easier to manage and safer for everyone. So, for example, if you were to be in Osaka, things do get apparently very unruly around Dotonbori Bridge in Shinsaibashi. I can remember just last year watching Dave in Osaka, who is a very well-known live streamer, one of the original live streamers in Japan, being in Dotonbori during that time, and it was just chock full of tourists. Actually, I would say 90% of the people I saw in his live stream were not Japanese. But also in places like Denden Town in Osaka, which is kind of like Osaka's Akihabara, they have a big Halloween parade, which is quite an impressive sight to see. On October 29th in 2022, a deadly crowd crush in Seoul's Itaewon district killed 159 people and injured many more. A lot of this was linked to Halloween night celebrations and people going to clubs to celebrate Halloween. The alleyways where it happened were narrow, and the sheer density of people created a catastrophic situation. The disaster reverberated through the region. It prompted governments and police across Asia to rethink crowd safety. And in Japan, it became a stark reminder of what can go wrong when large numbers of people gather without adequate crowd control. Japan's leaders and local officials explicitly linked their Halloween crowd control planning to concerns raised by the Itaewon tragedy. The Shibuya ward's heightened warnings and bans in the years following Itaewon were partly a direct response to the risk of a similar incident. Now, beyond immediate policy changes, Itaewon has become a catalyst for a broader conversation about public safety and accountability. Courts and governments have since pursued investigations and legal consequences for failures in crowd management in South Korea, which keeps the memory and the lesson fresh in neighboring countries like Japan. So the atmosphere has certainly changed in parts of Japan, like Tokyo. There's more police and fewer free-for-alls. Practically speaking, the Itaewon lesson combined with local problems led to 3 visible shifts in Japan's Halloween scene. First of all, there's more visible security, extra police patrols, public address systems asking crowds to disperse, and human chains directing pedestrian flow. In some years, police even used elevated platforms to make announcements to crowds. Next, there have been alcohol restrictions, temporary bans on drinking in public near hotspots, and requests to convenience stores to limit late-night alcohol sales during the Halloween period. And last, a move towards ticketing. Big parties and performances moving into controlled paid venues where entry and safety can be regulated. The result? The wild open street vibe of Halloween is much less predictable now. Costumes and cosplay are still abundant, but you'll often find the best, safest experiences at organized events. It's fun to think about why Halloween and Japan's spirit lore sit so well together. Japanese folklore is full of beings that are already dressed up for the occasion. Kitsune, fox spirits, who trick and bless. Onryo, vengeful spirits, who return with unfinished business. And a parade of yokai that range from the silly to the alarming. For many cosplayers, dressing as a yurei or classical yokai is less about horror and more about aesthetic and cultural play. Layered kimono, white face makeup, slow, eerie posing for photos. That blending of pop cosplay with centuries-old ghost imagery is what gives Halloween in Japan a slightly different texture. It's often theatrical, artful, and aesthetically rooted in local lore. Now, if you're visiting Japan during Halloween season, here's a practical checklist. First of all, don't assume Shibuya will be a free street party. Local authorities have discouraged large gatherings in Shibuya and may enforce alcohol bans and crowd controls. If you want the Shibuya energy, check official Shibuya ward announcements and look for organized events to attend instead. Now, buy tickets for major events in advance. Theme parks, club nights, and official parades sell out. Ticketed events are often the safest bet for an authentic, managed Halloween experience. Expect a heavy police presence in hotspots. This is for crowd control and safety. Follow instructions from authorities and be ready for detours or early closures at certain spots. Be mindful of public drinking rules. Some zones may have temporary bans, and convenience stores may limit sales late at night in sensitive areas. If you're planning a street picnic, check local advisories first. Now, please respect residential areas and businesses. Excess noise, littering, and blocking entrances are what prompted the clampdowns. Being respectful goes a long way. That's right. Disrespectful people can ruin all the fun for lots of people. That's definitely the way it goes. Now, cosplay etiquette. If you photograph people, ask permission. Avoid weapons or realistic props that could alarm people or be mistaken for something dangerous. And remember, public transport companies sometimes restrict large groups. Now, for families, daytime events, festivals, and theme park offerings will be much more low stress than late-night urban gatherings. Halloween in Japan is a strange, beautiful hybrid. Part shrine tale and part pop culture runway. For adults, it's an excuse to perform and party. For kids, it's about themed family fun. For photographers and subculture communities, it's an annual highlight. But after high-profile tragedies elsewhere and local strains in busy wards like Shibuya, the night now comes with reminders. Safety first, respect the neighborhood, and when in doubt, buy a ticket to an organized event. If you're planning on travel here this October, embrace the creativity and plan ahead. Check local ward notices and restrictions. For any restrictions, book ticketed events early and treat the night as both a celebration and community responsibility. Now, folks, if you like this episode, please leave a wonderful review for Supernatural Japan and make sure you follow the show to see lots of photographs of Halloween in Japan, of just what different events may look like. Of course, what Halloween in Shibuya looked like and looks like now. Go follow the Supernatural Japan podcast over on Instagram at Supernatural Japan, and you can find all of those photos over on our Facebook group as well. So all those links are in the show notes where you can follow the Instagram. Would love if you did that, and of course, come over to the Facebook group. Now, I'm on Blue Sky and X myself, Kevin O'Shea, your host, at Mad for Maple, where I post lots of spooky things. I'll post lots of things about Halloween leading up to it, and of course, I post lots of things that are not spooky and related to lots of different things. So I would appreciate it if you followed me over there as well. Now, this is spooky month. It's spooky season. It is October. So I'm going to throw out a call to action to all of you fantastic listeners. Please help this podcast grow. Help Supernatural Japan get into more ears. Recommend it to your friends. Recommend it to your colleagues or classmates who like spooky things. And of course, when I post something on social media, please repost it, share it. That helps a lot. Now, you can always shoot me an email at supernaturaljapan@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your stories about Halloween in Japan. Have you been there during a Halloween event? Tell me about it. Is it something you'd like me to share on the podcast? Even better. If so, let me know. Again, you can email me at supernaturaljapan@gmail.com. You can support the show over on Buy Me a Coffee with a one-time donation, or you can become a member. Links are in the show notes. And that's it for another episode of Supernatural Japan. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, Halloween is a fantastic time, so get out there and be spooky.